because we're getting some good information from our Skywarn folks down in Wayne County saying not only are they reporting some hail, but some power outages near the Worcester area. So I'm trying to pull that up, so don't mind me while I kind of multitask here for just one quick moment. For Wayne County, this is the storm that we really are probably the most concerned with, at least as of this point. We've been monitoring this storm for the last hour or so as it's been moving through parts of Ashland and Richland. And what you'll notice if you look at the radar is that we've got a little bit of a different colored box that we're dealing with. Basically what that indicates to us is that we are potentially dealing with a little bit of rotation. So the National Weather Service has tagged this as a tornado possible storm. Doesn't mean that we've had any confirmation that there is a tornado, but there is some broad rotation associated with it. And there was, at least as you kind of go back here, and I'm going to try and slide this back a little bit, and you can kind of see how generally this storm has started to weaken a little bit. It was pretty strong as it entered the western part of Wayne County. Starting to see it come down a little bit, which is good news. Hopefully that does mean it's going to continue on this weakening trend. But if I put on the velocity signature to it, especially if I roll it back, let me roll this back about, we'll do 30 minutes. What you'll notice right there, that's when we were more concerned with the potential that there could have been a tornado. It's why it was tagged with this tornado possible or this brighter yellow polygon. Still mainly concerned at this point with 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, as well as the potential for some quarter-size hail, and that would align with what we're hearing from our Skywarn spotters out in the Worcester area, basically saying we did have some quarter-sized hail. So this is an environment that is certainly become a lot more conducive for the development of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. I'll kind of take you on a wider view once again because we're dealing with a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. And anytime you see these boxes here, those are special weather statements. You likely get them a lot on your phone. It's always usually that precursor to saying, hey, heads up, we may see a severe thunderstorm warning issued downstream if this storm continues to strengthen and if it continues to stay a bit more organized. We have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Cuyahoga, but mainly Geauga counties at this point. It's really working out of Cuyahoga County through parts of Geauga County at this point in time. Let me see. Let me put up this. So you'll notice that this is going until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Main concern with this one, it's going to be the gusty winds. We could have some quarter-size hail in the mix as well. I'll pull up our hail tracker here in just a moment. But let's see, this is moving northeast at about 25 miles per hour. So we can put a quick track on this just so folks can kind of get an idea of where this is headed. And it will lift up towards the northeast. If you hear some dinging, this is our chats with the National Weather Service so that I have an idea of what they're thinking. And if we do get any storm reports, that's really helpful for me as well, that I can pass along then to all of you. All right, so this puts it in the Auburn area about 327, Middlefield about 344, out towards Orwell about 410, just to get some perspective as you kind of slip through not only Geauga County, but the northwestern portion there of Trumbull County and eventually into Ashtabula County. Now, yesterday, we did have some stronger storms that rolled through. They weren't severe warned, but we did receive some pictures, and we certainly had a lot of power outages reported across parts of Ashtabula County yesterday from this kind of broad system that's been rolling through. Really, at this point, I think today brings us our best severe potential through the entire weekend. Tomorrow, we'll still have showers and storms, but it's not quite as much of a severe potential. So I really think today is the day more so to be weather aware, especially if you do have some of those outdoor activities. You'll notice that this severe thunderstorm that was out across parts of Ashtabula County, mainly into Pennsylvania at this point, we still have another cell that's kind of developed along that southwestern flank of this system. But overall, not seeing anything that's too concerning out of that one. As we go farther down to the south, because I do know we have some folks that can catch us from New Philadelphia and parts of Tuscarawas County, this severe thunderstorm warning will go until 3:45. So we've got another about 20 minutes or so still left on this severe thunderstorm warning. Main concern with this one, gusty winds, and you can almost just tell with how it's more of a line. It's not these individual cells, which is what could potentially be more concerning. Because if it's an individual cell, sometimes those storms can take full advantage of all the heat, all the sunshine that's helping to warm up that temperature. And it, in some cases, can help really strengthen a storm. Sometimes when you get these lines, yes, as was evident last week, yes, it can bring some damaging wind gusts, but usually lines of storms are what we're most concerned with in terms of a damaging wind threat, rather than necessarily an isolated tornado risk. But this is certainly one that we're going to be watching for some gustier winds. I'll turn on our velocity just so you can actually see where some of those brighter green colors are popping up. And basically, the far southern portion of Tuscarawas County really has more so the best opportunity to see some of those gusty winds. Thankfully, it is relatively rural areas that this is moving through, but again, it is something to be mindful of as we go through this afternoon. That particular severe thunderstorm warning, I believe the motion is about 35 miles per hour off towards the east, so I will track that for folks that may be down this direction, even out towards Carroll County. Certainly, that is something we will be monitoring because it will likely pass just south of the Carrollton area as it continues on its trek eastward. And really, the farther south these storms are, likely the better opportunity they will have to stay a little bit more on the stronger side. So this puts it in mill by about 3:31, so here within the next 5 minutes or so, and then really just pushing towards the far eastern portion then of Carroll County once we get within the next hour or so. So these aren't moving overly fast. We don't anticipate that that was going to be the case. This is a very slow moving cold front as it's making its way through our area. But again, it is something to be mindful of over the next couple of hours, that we're still at least talking about this potential for more showers, more thunderstorms across the area, just because of the environment that we're dealing with. We've seen a lot more sunshine than some of our models had predicted earlier, even yesterday. So that has really kind of what we call destabilized our atmosphere, meaning you're able to tap into just a bit more of that energy and a bit more of that moisture that's in place, and you can get these more widely scattered showers and storms. If you were to view this from a little bit of a wider perspective, you can tell we've still got a ways to go in terms of some of this stormier activity. So I would say if you have any outdoor plans still this evening, yeah, some of this may come to a close a little bit as we get past sunset and you lose a lot of that strong daytime heating, which has largely been the driver of a lot of this activity out there today and why it's just so scattered. But once that cold front comes through, and you can really see that concentration of shower and thunderstorm activity, northwest Ohio, northern Indiana, that will then start to usher out any better severe potential that we could have in and across parts of northeast Ohio. So we'll see. I have a feeling that we're getting a little bit of a boundary that's setting up basically from northern Pennsylvania down through Ashtabula County. It's a storm that's been severe warned across parts of Cuyahoga, Geauga counties. And if you look really closely, you can see this really faint green line right there out across the southern parts of Lorain County. That is likely this boundary, and it's going to keep some of these showers and storms going at least within this corridor and points off to the east as we go through at least the next couple of hours. So from what I'm seeing with the National Weather Service office, because again, we're in talks with them. Somebody had said this is part of our Skywarn team, so they are trained spotters, which lends a little bit more credibility to some of this. Just received a report of a wall cloud observed from Seville Road in Medina County via amateur radio. So likely within this little thunderstorm here, I'm going to pause this and we're going to zoom in. And I've got to read still a little bit more as to what's going on here. With this particular thunderstorm. Let's see, still waiting on more information, whether or not it was actual rotation. Sometimes it can be scud, so again, this is all preliminary. We're all still kind of digesting some of this information as we go. It's not severe warn just yet. We want to get a little bit more info before we just, pull the trigger on a warning of any kind, just to make sure that we're actually really seeing this occur across parts of the area. Parts of Portage County certainly seeing some new cells developing here within the last couple of minutes out towards Ravenna. We've got a few more lightning strikes near the Suffield area. So for folks in Atwater, even out towards Randolph, likely a strengthening thunderstorm across your neck of the woods. And then farther south, this one actually across parts of southern Stark County. I know it's not officially warned, but I have a feeling we're probably getting some hail that's coming out of this particular thunderstorm. And sure enough, you can actually see. Keep in mind, the hail tracker is going to be a little bit delayed as it continues to digest some of this info. But right in there, you likely had close to potentially quarter-size hail. And the reason I can say that with somewhat confidence is because if you look closely, you can see a little bit of pink right there. To me, that is a good indication of a stronger updraft. So you're tapping into a lot more of those colder temperatures in the upper levels of our atmosphere. Now, how long it sustains itself, that's another matter entirely. If it doesn't really sustain itself for too long, we don't see further strengthening, they may or may not decide to put out any type of warning on it. But for folks in southern Stark County, northern Carroll County, that is certainly something we are continuing to watch as well. All right, let's see here. I'm trying to catch up on our chats. All right, that's mainly info on the Worcester storm. I believe, yeah, that's out towards Wayne County. All right, canceled the severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Cuyahoga County, which is good news for us because, again, we were seeing this clearly moving into parts of Geauga County. Really the worst of the storm out towards the Newberry, Auburn, Chesterland areas as it continues to lift up towards the northeast. So for folks downstream, if you live in Huntsburg, Hartsgrove, out towards Orwell, Lenox, even potentially Andover, as we go kind of through this next hour, be mindful that this storm is likely going to be headed on this general path. These storms are kind of following one another. We will also have to then watch for a potential for some flash flooding. It's very humid outside, so these storms are going to be efficient in producing rain. Thankfully, they are still moving. That is something we do want to see. We don't want to see this parked over one area like what we saw, not this last Thursday, but the Thursday before that when we had all that severe weather rolling through the area, because if they stay stationary, well, then you're going to run into a lot more of those flooding concerns. Wouldn't be surprised, though, if areas that tend to collect water very quickly during these kind of more humid thunderstorm environments, you may want to keep an eye out for that, especially if you're going to be out and about on the roadways later today. Otherwise, again, it's just the severe thunderstorm warning we have across parts of Tuscarawas County, Carroll County that's in effect now. They did let the severe thunderstorm warning that was in effect for Wayne County, which did have that possible tag or tornado possible tag on it. They let that expire. We've really seen that storm weaken, and I think largely because it's entering in an environment where we've already seen some of those showers and storms. So for the most part, these storms have not been able to kind of sustain themselves as they pushed a little farther to the east, which is perfectly fine, I think, for a lot of us here as we head through the afternoon. Let me just make sure we're not missing any storm reports coming in. And I'll probably just stay on until we kind of get these other severe thunderstorm warnings out of the area, just to cover bases here throughout the afternoon. I know we've got a lot of activities going on. We're getting up and ready for a Browns preseason game here in downtown Cleveland. Thankfully, everything is pretty quiet, but there is a little bit of a boundary right here. You can actually see that. We'll see if that can spark anything else a little closer to downtown, but at least as of now, no lightning concerns. That is a good news for us. All right, I'm gonna zoom this back out once again. I'm gonna put the radar into motion just so we can see how storms have been behaving over the last couple of scans. And this is a loop over the last 45 minutes, just in case you're curious. So again, we're starting to see some clearing out to the west. I'm gonna actually turn on our satellite product here. All right, I think this paints a good story here. What you'll see is certainly a lot of blossoming of activity closer to the I-77 corridor points to the east. I think largely as we go through the rest of this evening, this is going to be the corridor that's likely going to see the most activity here as we go through at least the rest of this evening. Out to the west, it's a matter of if these storms can take advantage of the fact that we just have sunshine out there. Atmosphere has a time to recover. If you saw rain and thunder earlier, you'll notice some of these cells weakening just because we did see some activity out across this area earlier. So temperatures have cooled down a little bit. If we can recover, some of these showers and storms to the west may actually survive as they move inland and a little closer to home. Otherwise, maybe a little bit harder for us to see additional activity without where that cold front may be. And I'm actually going to see if I have a current temp map in this particular show. Give me one moment. I do. All right, perfect. All right, so there you go. Temperatures vastly different depending on where you're at here across Northeast Ohio. So Ashtabula right now, Worcester, cooler spots, that's rain cooled air. Temperatures into the lower 70s, but you look towards Cleveland, you look up to Menor, New Philly, even out towards Norwalk, Sandusky, Mansfield, Lorain, Elyria. We're back into the mid to upper 80s in a lot of spots. this could potentially kind of refuel the atmosphere and keep this shower and thunderstorm potential going. Really quickly, I will run you through your future view, at least over the next couple of hours, if you're joining us wondering kind of how this may play out as we head into the early part of this evening. You can tell our atmosphere is not really going to quiet down a whole lot through at least 6 or 7 p.m. We're waiting on that cold front to start to roll through. Granted, it's going to take its time as it does so, but it will at least keep, as we were saying, that better rain and storm potential areas east of I-77 as we slip past sunset tonight. I do think, though, as we go to bed this evening, we should start to see activity really wind down. And it should be a relatively quiet overnight period for us before we kind of repeat the same pattern headed into tomorrow, but we'll have different things working for us. We'll have the cold front east, so that means it should really limit any severe potential for us as we go through the day tomorrow, but it will at least keep the mention of afternoon showers, few thunderstorms in the mix as well. So quick recap, and then we'll probably let this go as I am continuing to see just a general weakening trend on this particular thunderstorm out across Geauga County. You'll notice you're not seeing a ton of lightning strikes. Yes, you are with this little cell, but as we've said before, it's basically riding along a little bit of a boundary here, and you can almost see that right there. And that can sometimes help to strengthen at least some showers and thunderstorms in the area. But again, this particular severe thunderstorm warning, this one goes until, I believe, 4 o'clock. Again, this storm is moving relatively slow off towards the east, about 20 miles per hour. I'll pause it, put a track on it. We'll kind of go our way farther down to the south as we're tracking some of these storms. And I'll kind of do a little bit of a Boeing segment because that's basically what this is painting. East of 20, puts it in Middlefield, about 343, Harts Grove, just right around 410, Orwell, about 417, Rock Creek, about 431. We'll clear this off. We'll head farther south. New special weather statement coming out for parts of Portage County. We were just mentioning how these cells were starting to get a little bit more growth to them, so we can put a quick track on this. Again, it is not severe thunderstorm warned just yet, but it may be that precursor that if it holds together, you might see a downstream severe thunderstorm warning coming out of this. Winds gusting up to 50, half-inch hail, that is what it's warned for, moving to the northeast, about 35 miles per hour. So I'll actually put it towards the core of where this storm is. Know that you may get some rain out ahead of that. I believe I said this was 35 miles per hour. This puts it in the Newton Falls area by about 4 o'clock, Warren 416, Cortland closer to about 4:30. They just canceled the severe thunderstorm warning for Geauga County. We were noting that weakening trend. I have a feeling this is going to be more so what we're going to notice. Yes, you may get some severe thunderstorms, but they're likely going to be what we call very pulsy in nature, meaning they're going to pulse up, they're going to strengthen rapidly, and then likely collapse relatively quickly, just because they're entering into a relatively overworked environment. It's probably not going to keep these storms sustained. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that we haven't had a severe, not a severe thunderstorm warning, but just at least a special weather statement on this southern storm here across parts of southern Stark County, northwestern Carroll County. I do think we're probably dealing with at least some hail within it. Certainly a lot of lightning has been noted as well. But you can see on our hail tracker, we are picking up at least grape-sized hail. That's what radar is estimating. So is this, we'll kind of keep this general track the same as what we had this storm a little farther to the north as, just for simplicity, because it should be moving right about the same speed. Northeast about 35. This will put it in New Franklin 346, Knox about 356, Lisbon 408, Columbiana 420, out towards really the Youngstown area, basically as we get a little bit closer to the next 45 minutes or so. All right, and then the last severe thunderstorm warning we will touch on, and then I will let you guys go unless we see anything that is just very glaring. Again, the reason we came on was because there was a tornado possible tag on the storm in Wayne County. That has since weakened, which is good news for us. This particular severe thunderstorm warning in effect for another 5-ish minutes or so, and this one is moving east at about 35 miles per hour as well. Put a track on that. For the most part, it is headed out of our coverage area, which is good, but southern Carroll County still could potentially see impacts here within the next 20 to 30 minutes or so. Each one of those intervals is basically 10 minutes. So as you go across 10 minutes, you can see that it puts the leading edge out of the far eastern portion of Carroll County within the next 30 minutes or so. So that is what we're going to be tracking, 60-mile-an-hour winds. That is our main concern with this one, and really the strongest part of this storm just south of Tuscarawas County. So that is good news. That will continue to track to the east, staying out of our local coverage area. And again, these storms will likely be what I call pulsy. They're gonna crop up. They're probably gonna have a little bit of bite to them, and then they will rain themselves out, collapsing as they do. They may push out some gusty winds with it, but again, I think we're going to struggle to see really well-organized, long-sustained severe weather. This is not a repeat of what we just dealt with last week, and that's what we have to stress. So I'm going to turn things back to whatever you may be doing for your Saturday afternoon and evening. Again, if we see anything glaring, we will be back on. And of course, we're going to have the latest update for you tonight at 6 o'clock. If you don't have the 19 First Alert weather app, please download it. I will do my best to keep it as updated as possible with new videos, kind of giving you an idea of what you can expect through the rest of this afternoon and evening to get you up until our 6 o'clock newscast. All right, everybody, have a great, safe, wonderful rest of your Saturday.